They say that the one who truly knows himself knows God. But what does that really mean? For centuries, mystics, poets, and philosophers have sought the ultimate truth, the hidden knowledge that connects the human soul to the divine. Some searched in temples, others in ancient scriptures, but a select few took an entirely different path, the path of the Sufis. Sufism is not just a branch of Islam. It is a mystical journey, a way of dissolving the ego to uncover a deeper reality. It speaks of divine love, hidden truths, and a connection so profound that it transcends human understanding. But why were Sufi teachings often kept secret? Why did many Sufi masters communicate in poetry and symbols rather than direct words? And most importantly, can these ancient teachings still hold wisdom for us today? In this video, we'll uncover the hidden world of Sufi mysticism, exploring its origins, secret rituals, and the profound truths that lie beneath its poetic verses. Stay with me as we step into a world of mystery, love, and enlightenment. The world of Sufism. Sufism, often called Tasawwuf in Arabic, is believed to have emerged in the 8th and 9th centuries as a response to the growing materialism of the Islamic Empire. While Islam emphasized a devotion to God, some early Muslims felt that true spirituality was being lost in political power struggles and worldly desires. These seekers yearned for a deeper, more personal connection with the divine, one that went beyond rituals and laws. But where did the name Sufi come from? There are many theories. Some say it comes from the Arabic word suf, meaning wool, because early Sufis wore simple woolen garments as a symbol of humility. Others believe it comes from the Greek word Sophia, meaning wisdom, suggesting that Sufis were the seekers of divine knowledge. The earliest Sufis were known for their simple, detached lifestyles. They lived as ascetics, rejecting wealth, fame, and material pleasures, believing that true enlightenment could only be achieved through self-purification and inner reflection. One of the most famous early Sufis was Rabia al-Basri, an 8th-century woman mystic from Iraq. She spoke of loving God, not out of fear of hell or the desire for paradise, but purely for the sake of love itself. Her poetry and prayers revealed a revolutionary idea, that divine love was the only true path to spiritual awakening. Another early Sufi, Hassan al-Basri, preached about the dangers of materialism and how attachment to worldly things kept humans away from true peace. He taught that the heart must be purified before it can reflect the light of God. Over the centuries, Sufism evolved into various mystical schools and brotherhoods, each with its own unique practices and philosophies. Masters and disciples formed Sufi orders, tariqas, where seekers would undergo intense spiritual training under a guide known as a murshid, spiritual teacher. These Sufi masters used poetry, music, and meditation to express their mystical experiences. Some of the most famous poets and thinkers of all time, Rumi, Al-Ghazali, and Ibn Arabi, helped spread Sufi teachings beyond the Islamic world, influencing spiritual seekers of all religions. But what exactly did Sufis teach? What secrets did they pass down through poetry and symbols? And why were some of their beliefs considered so controversial? At the heart of Sufism lies a single powerful truth: the journey to God is a journey within. Unlike traditional religious practices that emphasize external rituals, Sufis believe that divine connection is an inner experience, a transformation of the heart and soul. But how does one embark on this journey? Sufi mysticism follows a path of self-purification, love, and deep spiritual awareness. Let's explore some of its core teachings and hidden meanings. First is self-purification. The inner struggle, tazkiyah. Sufis believe that every human being is trapped by the ego, desires, and worldly attachments. This ego, nafs, keeps us blind to the divine presence. The first step in the Sufi path is tazkiyah, or self-purification, the process of cleansing the soul from arrogance, greed, and selfishness. Sufi masters compare the heart to a mirror. If covered in dust, it reflects nothing. but once cleaned, it shines with the light of the divine. This purification is achieved through meditation, remembrance, dhikr, and self-discipline. A famous Sufi saying states, "When the soul is purified, it becomes a clear mirror reflecting the light of God." Now the second is the path of divine love, ishq-i-hakiki. Unlike conventional religious doctrines that focus on fear of hell or rewards of heaven, Sufism places love at the center of spirituality. This is called ishq-i-hakiki, divine love, a love so deep that it dissolves the self into the beloved God. This concept is beautifully expressed in the poetry of Jalal al-Din Rumi, one of the most famous Sufi poets. "You were born with wings, why prefer to crawl through life?" Sufis believe that God is not a distant ruler but an intimate presence, one that can only be reached through unconditional love. This is why many Sufis, like Rabia al-Basri, rejected the idea of loving God out of fear. She famously said, "O God, if I worship you for fear of hell, burn me in hell. If I worship you for hope of paradise, deny me paradise. But if I worship you for you alone, grant me your eternal presence." Third is about the oneness of being, Wahdat al-Wujud. One of the most mystical and controversial teachings in Sufism is Wahdat al-Wujud, the idea that everything in existence is a reflection of the divine. Sufi masters like Ibn Arabi taught that there is no separation between creator and creation. The physical world is just a veil over the true reality, which is oneness with God. This teaching can be found in the poetry of many Sufi saints who describe losing themselves in the presence of the divine. They believe that once the ego is destroyed, all that remains is God. This idea was so radical that many Sufis were persecuted for it. The famous Sufi Mansur al-Hallaj was executed for declaring, "Ana al-Haq, I am the truth, God." To the religious authorities, this was blasphemy. But to Sufis, it was the ultimate realization that the self is an illusion and only the divine remains. Fourth core is the power of poetry, music, and dance. Sufis believe that divine love cannot be explained in words, it must be felt. To express this, they used poetry, music, and dance as forms of spiritual awakening. Poetry. Sufi poets like Rumi, Hafiz, and Bulleh Shah used metaphors of love, longing, and intoxication to describe the soul's journey to God. Music. Qawwali. Sufi gatherings often include qawwali, a form of devotional music designed to elevate the listener into a state of ecstasy. Whirling dervishes, Sama. Some Sufi orders, like the Mevlevi order, practice Sama, the famous spinning dance. This whirling is a form of meditation, a way to detach from the physical world and connect with the divine. As Rumi said, "When the soul hears the song of the divine, it cannot help but dance." Fifth is the role of a spiritual guide, Murshid and the Sufi path. Sufism teaches that the journey to enlightenment cannot be taken alone. Every seeker needs a Murshid, spiritual teacher, someone who has already traveled the path and can guide the disciple through its challenges. This relationship between teacher and student is deep and sacred. The disciple surrenders their ego to the Murshid, who helps them reach a higher state of consciousness. Sufis follow a structured path, often divided into 4 stages: Sharia, the outer religious practices, prayers, fasting; ethics, Tariqa, the inner path, spiritual training under a Murshid; Haqiqa, the realization of divine truth; Marifah, ultimate enlightenment and union with God. Each stage requires deep self-reflection, patience, and devotion. Finally, Sufism is not just about religious devotion. It is about breaking free from illusions, dissolving the ego, and experiencing divine love. It is a journey that cannot be explained, only felt. As Rumi beautifully said, "You were born with wings. Learn to use them and fly." But the question remains, is Sufism just a philosophy, or does it hold the key to unlocking the deepest secrets of human existence? Sufism is often associated with love, poetry, and deep spiritual wisdom, but beneath its mystical beauty lies a history filled with secrecy, persecution, and controversy. Throughout the centuries, many Sufis have been celebrated as saints, while others were condemned as heretics. But why? Why were some Sufi teachings considered too dangerous? Why were certain Sufi masters executed for their beliefs? And what hidden knowledge did they protect so fiercely? Unlike traditional Islamic teachings, which are openly taught in mosques and madrasas, Sufi knowledge has often been hidden, passed down only to a select few disciples. This secrecy exists for two reasons. One is to protect sacred knowledge from those who are not ready to receive it. Sufis believe that divine truth is too powerful to be shared with everyone. Only those who undergo intense spiritual training and purification can truly understand its depth. And second reason is to avoid persecution from religious authorities. Many of Sufism's teachings, especially those about oneness with God, Wahdat al-Wujud, were seen as dangerous and blasphemous by Orthodox scholars. Sufi masters often hid their teachings in poetry, symbols, and metaphors, making it difficult for outsiders to fully grasp their meaning. One of the best examples of this is Rumi, whose poetry is filled with hidden messages about divine love, unity, and the dissolution of the self. Those who read his verses casually might think they are about human love, but in reality, they describe the soul's journey toward God. Sufism's most controversial doctrine. I am the truth. One of the most dangerous ideas in Sufism is the belief that the individual self is an illusion, and everything is ultimately God. This philosophy, known as Wahdat al-Wujud, the oneness of being, teaches that there is no separation between the Creator and creation, that all things are manifestations of the divine. This idea was considered heretical by many Orthodox scholars. They argued that if everything is God, then what is the purpose of religious laws and rituals? If all is divine, does that mean sin and righteousness are the same? These questions led to intense debates and, in some cases, violent consequences. Perhaps the most tragic example is Mansur al-Hallaj, a famous Sufi mystic who was executed for speaking what he believed was the ultimate truth. One day, in a deep state of spiritual ecstasy, al-Hallaj publicly declared, "Ana al-Haq, in ul-Shu, I am the truth." But al-Haq is also one of the names of God in Islam. Religious authorities saw this statement as a direct claim to divinity, a grave act of blasphemy. He was arrested, tortured, and eventually executed in Baghdad in the year 922. But even as he was being led to his death, he smiled and whispered, "What is being killed is not me, but only my illusion of self." To Sufis, his words were not blasphemy, but the highest realization of divine unity, a state where the ego dissolves completely and nothing remains but God. Even today, al-Hallaj remains one of the most mysterious and controversial figures in Islamic mysticism. Why were Sufi orders persecuted? Although Sufism is often associated with peace and spirituality, Sufi orders, tariqas, have faced severe persecution throughout history. Many Orthodox scholars believe that Sufis distorted Islamic teachings by introducing music, dance, and poetry into worship. The use of metaphors and symbolic language in Sufi poetry confused traditional religious leaders, who feared that Sufis were leading people away from strict religious practices. Some Sufi masters were accused of having hidden knowledge that was not found in the Quran or Hadith, leading to suspicions of heresy and deviation. Some Sufi orders became extremely influential, gathering large followings that threatened rulers. Kings and sultans feared that Sufi leaders could inspire revolutions by teaching spiritual freedom over political obedience. In many cases, Sufi movements were suppressed, outlawed, or exiled to prevent them from gaining too much power. One of the most famous examples is the Ottoman Empire's suppression of the Bektashi Sufi order in the 19th century. The empire viewed them as a threat to political stability and shut down many of their lodges. Do Sufis possess hidden knowledge? Many people believe that Sufis possess secret knowledge that is not meant for the general public. This belief comes from the fact that Sufi teachings are often passed down only through spiritual masters, murshids, taught in symbolic language that requires deep understanding. Connected to ancient mystical traditions, including Hermeticism, Neoplatonism, and even esoteric Christian and Hindu philosophies, some researchers even suggest that Sufi wisdom might contain traces of lost ancient knowledge, secrets about the nature of the universe, the soul, and the afterlife. Could it be that Sufi masters uncovered truths that remain hidden from mainstream religious thought? And if so, why did they keep them secret? One of the most visually captivating and misunderstood Sufi practices is the whirling dance, Sama, of the Mevlevi order, founded by followers of Rumi. This ritual, where dervishes spin in circles for hours, is not simply a dance. It is a form of deep meditation. The dervish spins in a circle, symbolizing the motion of celestial bodies, the cycle of life and death, and the constant turning of the soul toward God. One hand is raised toward the heavens to receive divine energy, while the other hand points toward the earth to spread that energy to humanity. Through spinning, the ego disappears, and the dervish enters a state of divine ecstasy. Could this practice be connected to ancient spiritual techniques designed to alter consciousness? Some historians believe that the whirling ritual may have origins in even older shamanic traditions. In final terms, Sufism remains one of the most mysterious and misunderstood paths in spirituality. Its teachings have inspired poets, philosophers, and seekers across the world, yet it has also faced intense persecution and secrecy. Many questions still remain unanswered. Did Sufis discover spiritual truths that mainstream religion could not accept? Are there hidden teachings meant for only a select few? And most importantly, can the ancient wisdom of Sufism help us unlock the deepest mysteries of human existence? Perhaps the real secret of Sufism is not something hidden in books or ancient manuscripts, but something far more profound, a truth that can only be found within. As Rumi said, do not seek for love outside yourself, for the true beloved is within you. The whirling dervishes are one of the most fascinating symbols of Sufism. Dressed in flowing white robes, they spin in rhythmic motion, lost in a trance that seems to transport them beyond the physical world. To the outside observer, it may appear as an elaborate dance, but to the initiated, this ritual is far more than mere movement. It is a profound spiritual practice meant to dissolve the self and reach a state of divine union. Rooted in the teachings of the great Sufi poet and mystic Jalal al-Din Rumi, the ritual, known as Sama, is a form of active meditation. The word Sama means listening, referring to the idea that the dervishes are listening to the music of the universe, aligning themselves with its divine rhythm. It is said that Rumi himself first entered this state of whirling ecstasy after hearing the rhythmic hammering of goldsmiths in a market. Lost in the sound, he began spinning, surrendering himself completely to the flow of divine energy. His followers later formalized this practice into what we now recognize as the dance of the Mevlevi order. Every aspect of this ritual holds deep symbolic meaning. The white robes of the dervishes represent the shroud of the ego, signifying its death. The tall cylindrical hats, called sikh, symbolize the tombstone of their worldly self. As they begin to whirl, one hand is raised toward the heavens to receive divine blessings, while the other hand is extended toward the earth, channeling that energy to the world. The dervishes rotate counterclockwise, mirroring the motion of planets and galaxies, symbolizing their surrender to the cosmic order. Through this repetitive spinning, they seek to transcend the limitations of the physical body and merge with the divine presence. But beyond its external beauty, Sama is believed to hold deeper, hidden power, one that is not meant for ordinary people. Some Sufi masters claim that this ritual is not just about ecstasy, but a method of altering consciousness. By spinning continuously, the mind detaches from the body, and the dancer enters a state where time and space dissolve. It is said that those who master this practice can reach levels of awareness unknown to the average human being, experiencing realities beyond the material world. Some esoteric traditions suggest that the whirling motion itself is a technique designed to activate hidden energy centers within the body. In a way similar to yogic practices like Kundalini awakening, the spinning generates an internal force that allows the soul to break free from earthly constraints. Certain Sufi orders even believe that through advanced practice, a dervish can momentarily lift the veil between the physical and spiritual realms, gaining insights into the unseen world. This mystical practice, however, has not been without controversy. Many Orthodox religious scholars have condemned Sama as a deviation from traditional Islam, calling it an unnecessary innovation or even a form of heresy. Over the centuries, various rulers have attempted to ban the ritual, fearing that its ecstatic nature could lead followers away from strict religious observance. Some Sufi masters themselves have warned against its misuse, cautioning that without proper guidance, one could lose their grip on reality entirely. Despite these controversies, the whirling dervishes continue their practice to this day, keeping alive a tradition that has fascinated seekers of wisdom for centuries. To them, Sama is not just a performance, but a living connection to the divine, a reminder that beyond the chaos of the world, there exists a rhythm, a flow, and a presence that can only be felt, never fully explained. As Rumi once said, "Why do you stay in prison when the door is wide open? Come, step into the dance of eternity." In today's fast-paced and chaotic world, where material success is often prioritized over inner peace, the ancient wisdom of Sufism holds a unique relevance. While Sufism originated centuries ago, its teachings on love, self-discovery, and divine connection continue to inspire seekers from all walks of life. More than just a historical spiritual tradition, Sufism offers timeless insights into modern struggles, helping individuals navigate stress, anxiety, and the search for deeper meaning in life. One of the core principles of Sufism is tazkiyah, or purification of the self. In an age dominated by social media, external validation, and endless distractions, this concept is more relevant than ever. Sufi teachings emphasize that true happiness and fulfillment do not come from material possessions or public recognition, but from inner contentment and a connection with the divine. The practice of zikr, or remembrance of God, serves as a tool to detach from worldly noise and reconnect with the essence of existence. Whether through meditation, prayer, or silent contemplation, Sufism encourages a return to simplicity, something desperately needed in a world of overstimulation. Another major aspect of Sufism that resonates today is its emphasis on love and unity. Sufi poetry, especially that of Rumi and Hafiz, speaks of divine love that transcends religious, cultural, and societal boundaries. In a time of increasing division and polarization, the Sufi path reminds us that all human beings are interconnected and that love is the ultimate truth. This universalist approach has drawn not only Muslims, but also people from different spiritual backgrounds to explore Sufism as a way to find harmony in diversity. In recent years, Sufi practices like whirling meditation, breathwork, and sacred music, Sama, have gained popularity beyond traditional Sufi circles. Many wellness movements and spiritual communities now incorporate elements of Sufi mysticism, recognizing its ability to induce states of peace, heightened awareness, and emotional healing. Even in fields like psychology and neuroscience, researchers are beginning to explore how Sufi practices influence brain activity and emotional well-being, proving that this ancient wisdom has tangible benefits for modern mental health. However, as Sufism gains global recognition, it also faces challenges. The rise of commercialized spirituality has led to a diluted version of Sufi teachings, where poetic quotes are taken out of context and sold as self-help slogans without understanding their deeper meaning. Additionally, traditional Sufi orders struggle to maintain their authenticity in a world where spiritual seekers often prefer quick enlightenment over the lifelong journey of discipline and inner transformation that Sufism requires. Despite these challenges, Sufism remains a guiding light for those who seek a deeper understanding of existence. In a world increasingly defined by materialism and superficial connections, it offers a profound reminder. The greatest journey is not outward, but inward. As Rumi beautifully said, "You were born with wings. Why prefer to crawl through life?" Sufism is more than just a mystical tradition. It is a path to self-discovery, divine love, and inner transformation. From its hidden teachings and controversial history to its modern relevance, Sufism continues to challenge the way we perceive reality, God, and ourselves. It teaches that the greatest truths are not found in books or doctrines, but within the depths of the human heart. In a world consumed by division, materialism, and restlessness, Sufism offers a simple yet profound reminder. The key to ultimate fulfillment lies not in seeking more, but in becoming less attached to ego, less bound by worldly illusions, and more open to the infinite presence of the divine. But perhaps the greatest mystery of Sufism is that it cannot truly be explained, only experienced. The answers are not in words, but in the silence between them, not in seeking, but in surrender. As Rumi once asked, "Why do you search for the divine in the outside world, when he is waiting for you in the depths of your soul?"